disparity in our schools compared to the New York City Department of Education is somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000. You tack on a benefits package that is probably double to triple worth what we can give, and you see why we're having huge problems. The turnover rates in our schools, just to give you some idea, in our school-age programs, these are programs that serve children who the New York City Department of Education has said they can't educate. Maybe they were in District 75 schools and they had such challenges that they needed to go to a private school that the state has acknowledged. The turnover rate in those schools is 31%. And this is data that we just basically got from our members about 3 months ago. 31%. So that pretty much tells you that almost every kid in our schools is having more than one teacher in a year.
That's all NPS schools?
That's IAC NPS schools. So IAC represents about 38 non-public schools statewide. The majority of them are New York City schools. We also represent about 45 preschool special ed programs statewide. The majority are probably in the tri-state area, New York City, Long Island, Westchester, Rockland. In terms of preschool, the teacher turnover is 26%. It's actually lower, and you'll see why, because we basically aren't able to hire teachers anymore. So the vacancy rates have gone up, and that's even more alarming. But the teacher assistant turnover rates are around 25 to 30%. So you hear these numbers and you think, yeah, these are terrible, but what you have to remember is the impact it's having on the kids. They're not providing the same quality level of service that they provided 10 years ago. I don't care who anybody says they are, they're not. The schools are not the same. They don't have the same funding. They don't have the same services. They don't have the social work support staff they had. They don't have the recreational programs. They don't go on trips. They're providing services based on the funding that they have at this point. And to give you some idea, for 6 years, preschool special education programs got 0 increases. 6 years. During that same time, all their other costs went up. The heat went up, the insurance went up. They had to give raises to the staff, otherwise they wouldn't have them. Many of those staff have gotten very small increases. And only in the last 3 years have they gotten 2% increases. Even school-age programs have only gotten 18% in that time frame. You know what public schools got in that same time frame from 2012 to now? 35% increase in foundation aid. Preschools got 6% in that same time frame. That says to you what the priority is in regard to making sure that these children, their youngest children, are getting the quality education they need. But the real alarming concern that we have, and I've been sounding this alarm to the state and to everybody that listen to me, is the vacancy rates are climbing. About a year and a half ago, the vacancy rates for 853 teachers was 16%. We did the survey 3 months ago, it's up to 28%. That's a 75% increase. So what that says is we're no longer able to recruit teachers for these schools. At some point, the schools have to make a decision. Are they going to continue to operate or not? Are they going to close classrooms? For preschool teachers, the rates have increased by 65%. They went from 17 to 28%. So we have almost a 30% vacancy rate across the board for all of our teachers in both our 853 and 4410 preschool programs. Teacher assistant vacancy rates are climbing even higher. In the 853 programs, they went from 18 to 35%. That's a 94% increase in vacancy rates. That's a direct result of minimum wage. Direct result. If you can work in Barnes & Noble or go work at Home Depot, you're not going to come and work in our school for the same money we can pay. And again, it becomes a real priority issue here. How much is this a priority to ensure that children with the highest levels of need in the state are getting the services they need? And the general public really doesn't sort of get this because I don't think anybody really has been talking about it. We have tried to get very specific data from New York City. New York City has basically not responded to my FOIL request. A FOIL request is a Freedom of Information request where you say, I want this information because we really need to know this. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to push the City Council. The City Council about 3 years ago passed a special ed law. Special ed law says that New York City Department of Education has to produce a data report, a special ed data report for services for every single child in their system from 5 to 21. The City Council in that law excluded preschool special ed kids. We need to know the numbers of preschool special ed kids. The mayor stands up all the time and says publicly, look, every child who's 4 years old in this city will be guaranteed a preschool seat, except if you're a child with a disability, because there's no guarantee, because there's no information regarding that. It really is becoming a major crisis. We're going to have more events. We're going to really try to drive this point home. On Staten Island, I know it was an issue because gingerbread closed, left a lot of families without seats. Those families were the priority, but there's still a lot of other kids right now that probably don't have seats, and the system is not able to respond enough. New York City Department of Ed opened some classrooms. They opened some preschool classrooms, probably for one of the first times. But they didn't open enough to cover all those kids. So some providers took some of those kids, some kids left and graduated. However, there's still, according to the regional need request, 116 seats still needed on Staten Island. So if you know of any parents who have children who do not have preschool seats, they have an IEP, if you want to help them out, you can direct them to me. My email is Chris, very easy, CHRIS, @iacny.org. And I'll give it to you guys, you can have it. We're really trying to identify as many parents as we can to be able to show the state that there's more than a handful of parents right now that are in need. Because my understanding is that New York State was told by New York City that there's only a few kids that need seats right now. And I don't believe that because my preschool directors are telling me they get calls every day from all of the preschool administrators asking, do you have a seat, do you have a seat, do you have a seat? The other reason I believe that is most of the preschool seats right now are filled, and most of them are over-enrolled. Over-enrolled means if you have a class of 8, that classroom now is 9, because the preschool administrators have been saying, you got to take these kids, you got to take these kids. The other problem for the preschools and the school age programs, if you don't have a certified teacher, how much longer are you going to want to operate that classroom? How much more are you going to operate? And that's really becoming a very critical issue that we've been raising as high as we can to the state, to the Board of Regents and others, to start to say to them, there's got to be something done here, because it can't continue like this indefinitely. The other thing I'll just mention in New York City, the New York City Department of Health, under Article 47, which is the Bureau of Daycare, they come and they license all of these preschool special ed programs. There is a requirement in that law that says that there has to be a certified teacher in all these preschool classrooms. If you don't have a certified teacher in that preschool classroom, the New York City Department of Health can shut that classroom down. They are telling our schools as they visit, if you don't have a certified teacher, we're going to close the classroom. There are kids in those classrooms. Where are those kids going? So that's why this is really, really serious. And then the last thing I'll just mention, actually I did meet over the summer with your Children's Committee, and I'm really happy to be here. I specifically came here because I met with the Children's Committee over the summer, and we talked about a lot of actions and a lot of things to do. And I think it's really a testament to Staten Island's Children's Committee that you're really very invested in this. It needs to be much more of a focus, I think, in terms of all of the councils. Children are the most important elements of the system. They really depend very heavily on intervention at an early age. The research says they benefit immensely from that intervention, and I will tell you that the system is failing the children. Failing them in early intervention, failing them in preschool, and they're ending up at the school age door needing more services than they've ever needed before. Because the systems before them that were there to ensure that they got the right level of intervention, they're not getting it. The last thing I'll just mention, transportation in New York City. If anybody looks at the newspapers, you see transportation is a mess. According to an article in the Daily News, I think the complaint hotline has reached 95,000 complaints. 95,000. We have surveyed our members. We know that the majority of the preschool buses and school-age buses are getting to school late. And the reason that's important, and the reason I mention this, I did a survey just last May of 6 of our preschools that had buses arriving late. You figure how many kids are on those buses and how late they get. All children are entitled to 5 hours of instruction, teaching instruction, therapy instruction at a preschool special ed program. If they're in school age, it's 5.5 hours. If the bus arrives late, they lose that instruction. They can't make it up. So we had 6 preschool special ed programs in Brooklyn and Queens, total, in 6 weeks. When I figured out the instructional time they lost, based on the time of those buses arriving late every day, it was 700 hours of instruction. You can't make that up. If a bus arrives late, you can't provide therapy when the therapist isn't there if they only are there in the morning. So it's really critical that you start to pay attention to this issue, because again, it's going to go away. And then the bus is going to arrive 15 minutes late again. 15 minutes late every day for a whole bunch of kids is a lot of time in the course of an entire year that can't be made up. So it's not something, and that's what we're concerned about. We're concerned because now the general public is involved in this transportation issue, that all of a sudden everybody's interested. They might have a public hearing on it. Our schools Our preschool special ed programs have experienced transportation problems forever. 30 years ago, I worked in a preschool special ed program. We had the same issues. It's got to get fixed permanently, and I think this is an opportunity. So again, I think the councils really should start to also raise this issue about what's going on with this transportation for the kids. And we're going to stay on top of this. We've told our preschools to let us know if there's continuing issues. We will let OPT know, but I think you should encourage the parents, even though there's 95,000 calls, keep calling the hotline, because if you stop, then everyone's going to say the problem's fixed. Because that's how they always see it. Oh, there's no more calls, everything's fine. No, parents have given up. Or they're not calling because there's 95,000 calls, and what are they going to fix mine? You need to register a complaint. They will give you a complaint number, and you can follow up on that complaint number, and the city is documenting how many complaint numbers there are. And the last thing I'll say is, Councilman Traeger, who is the chair of the Education Committee, is probably going to be holding public hearings regarding transportation in the city. And once I get that notice, I will send it out. We'll send it out to the councils. Parents should be, if parents are really angry and upset, you should show up and you should speak your mind in terms of how your children are treated. Children right now are on the bus for 3 and 4 hours. Preschool kids, 3 years old. I had a parent who called me, her son has autism, first school experience, 3 years old, and he was on the bus for almost 4 hours. He didn't want to get on the bus the next morning. And that's in the same borough. That's how bad it is right now. So you know, again, I don't usually have a lot of positive news, so I do apologize for that, but I want to educate people as much as I can about what's going on. So thank you.
Last December, we had a presentation of all of the providers on Staten Island for the adult day programs and part of transition. That's part of what we do with adult services. We are having the same type of forum. It's going to be November 13th. November 13th in the evening at the Jerome Parker Center. Hungerford has been gracious enough. Last year it was the Great Hills High School, PS 37. They had us do that. So we are encouraging everybody to please join us on Tuesday morning, 10:30, or you can email me or Iris. Iris, you don't usually email as much as I do, but we'll include you as well. The email is jtripodi15@gmail.com. We encourage you to be part of this committee so that we can have families that are at the other end of what Chris was talking about as they're articulating out of school, and they also, you know, the opportunity for them to have a place to go and be productive. We want to make sure that we find the right place. We found out last year in December, which was very, very well attended, on a very cold, stormy night, on the night that Mayor Knappner made the retirement party, we still had a room full of people that came away with a lot of good information.
Advocacy actually covers all of our services. I mean, it covers the whole field, so I encourage everybody to be involved with it. We're working very closely right now with Chris Trieger on the education for early childhood. A lot of the members of the advocacy committee are part of that. We work with local provider associations and organizing rallies, mail campaigns, phone campaigns. Even if you're not a member of the committee, if you get an email from us saying, please write a letter, please contact your elected official, please do it. It takes 5 minutes and it helps, because the more they hear from us, the more they realize we're serious and things are changing. And part of our mission is also to keep everybody informed, especially our elected officials, because a lot of times they're up in Albany and things are doing on a state level, on a local level, we don't really know what's going on. So that's part of our job also. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. Our next meeting is Monday, October 1st at 9:30 a.m. and we'll be in the conference room with you. So if you have any questions, my phone number is 718-447-5200, extension 206. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Care Management Committee, Jared. We had a meeting on August 20th, right? Yes, August 20th. We kind of came together just to discuss some of the concerns or just issues that the care managers had faced with Metascan and different, things like that. Chris Marchione was there and took notes so that she could bring it back to ACA just to show that everyone's kind of on the same page and coming across the same difficulties. We're doing a talk about care coordination for the parents at the Family Support Fair on October 5th, so we're going to count that as our meeting. And then we're looking to put together our next meeting with representatives from the three different CCOs, just to kind of clear up some of the confusion regarding intakes and who processes the Medicaid renewals now, Medicaid applications, sorry, and just how to kind of streamline the intake process. There's a lot of confusion, and if every agency isn't really sure how to do that. So we haven't gotten a date for that yet, but we're hoping to have it over the CCO's time.
Thank you.
And I want this to continue all year, so if you know anyone who does not currently attend their council meetings, please get our information and make sure you sign up in the back so we have all of your information. This summer we worked really hard with getting our new website up and running, so if you haven't checked that out, please do so, www.siddc.org. And we also need your help because on our website we're making sure that we're letting everybody know about any events that are going on or any program opportunities. So if you have events going on or program opportunities, please send that information to our, and you can send that information to Teresa Castillo-Giacomo. I got it. She's our new outreach coordinator, and she's the one who is currently uploading information onto our website. Our committee meets every third Friday of the month after the general council meeting, right in the front. All are welcome. Everyone has wonderful ideas and we want to hear your ideas. But our goal is to get as much information out to their community as possible. We want to do this in all different ways. So please come and join us. Thank you.
And please promote our evening meeting on the 26th. Everybody in this room promote it. Everybody has to send out an email, forward it, pass it on. Great, thank you. Early Childhood Education Action Group, Jackie Rugolo.
No one gets the name right.
What is it, it's not early
Yes,
childhood education?
we first said Early Intervention Action Committee, but now, Action Group, but now it's Early Childhood Action Group.
Early Childhood Action Group.
Yes, and it is an ad hoc committee. I want to say thank you to Chris for providing us with a lot of help and encouragement. The reason why this committee was started, obviously, you just heard from Chris Trieber about the crisis that we are in, so that we thought that we really did want to participate and get something going. It's been a long time since we've really talked a lot about early intervention and early childhood at our council meetings, and just, and since it's such a crisis, we really do need to, step up our activities. So we do have some action steps, and they are, at first, now we're collecting data, and thanks to Kathy Noah, who works for the Early Childhood Direction Center, she's getting us a lot of information. And with that, we hope, information is power, and hopefully with that information, we can use it with our advocacy efforts to say, look at where we were, look at, where we are now, and, we need to really get some help here. That's the first thing. Other things we want to do, we want to do some trainings and meetings for parents of young children, so that we can, bring all this information to the forefront. I'm not sure exactly where we're going after that, except for our advocacy efforts, and we will keep you posted, and we hope you will all participate when the time comes when we really have to step up our activities.
And my co-chair is Mary Alice Begley. She's the borough coordinator for Parent to Parent New York, and I'm the director of the Early Childhood Direction Center. And we have been focusing over the years, obviously, the advocacy issues you've heard this morning have always been at the forefront of our committee, which is the Education Committee, dealing with birth through 21. So we have always had these concerns during our meetings. We are focusing on early intervention, preschool, school age, and also what are we doing to prepare our graduates to have meaningful lives post-graduation. So we've funneled information to advocacy, and we've also focused on quality. And one of the stronger focuses that we've had has been on full inclusions and focusing on how do we make our schools a school for all children, whether it's early childhood or public schools. And we've made great gains, but we're still not there. And of course, the financial issues that you are hearing definitely impact quality. But we have been working with the school district and the state ed department in having our spring seminars give us information on what are our goals for quality education. And we recently had the Deputy Commissioner Chris Soriano down last November to review the Blueprint for Success, which really covers everything that's important to us and how do we want to get there. And also we had a school for all children where we had representatives of local schools that were doing a good job to the best of what can be done, share those experiences. So we have done a number of things. We want to continue with that focus on the tone from the top, and the principal sets the tone on how your child in an IEP and your family gets treated as they walk to school, as they are on the bus to school, when they're in the lunchroom. How do we as a community do that? And so we've been meeting with Kim Ramones, who is the Regional Field Support Coordinator for Special Education. And Mary Alice and I met yesterday with her because she's been a support to this committee. And we found out some really good things that are happening, and we're going to include that in our discussion. Our next meeting is October 16th. We're meeting at IBR at 9:30. And we've also put out a letter of call to individuals, parents, professionals working in early intervention preschool, so they can bring what's happening to them personally now to our committee discussion. So if you are someone who would like to contribute from that age span, birth to 21, particularly with transition as well, please join us, and we look forward to another successful dialogue. And of course with advocacy, I just want to add as a parent that when we talk about advocacy, we are all here to do that. Every committee is here to advocate for the topic we're dealing with. But I want to be mindful that you don't have to go to advocacy school or take advocacy 101 or know how to be a legislator. What has been accomplished by parents is that they can tell this story. And what we have to do is go to our legislators on a regular basis. Your whole committee could go and meet with the legislators here. We have 6 or 7 at home where they live and where their people vote. And they tell your story. They have to figure out how to make a solution. But Albany is great when we go with a couple of thousand people. But if you go 2 or 3 times a year and tell them that you don't have a permanent residence for your son, or you're not doing a transition correctly, or there's no preschool seats, and you're getting this botched up IEP that is illegal, so let them worry about it. That's why they work for us. And go to their office, meet with their legislative aides. Half the time they know more than the person that we voted for. So there is what, that's it. I hope to see some of you at our next meeting.
Thank you, Laura. Family Resource and Transition Fair, Irene Kavanaugh, Jeannie Engler. Jeannie, right here.
Hello. Hi, I'm Irene. That's Jeannie. October 5th. Everybody write that down. You have an appointment, you have a date to come to the College of Staten Island for our Family Support and Transition Fair. We've been working really hard on this. We're finally pulling it together. We're sending out the flyers, so if you haven't gotten a flyer, let me know before you leave. I'll take your info. It's from 9 to 1. We have there are tables. There are about 45 tables. A bunch of different agencies, service providers, and services will be there. But very importantly, we have 4 information sessions. 2 small information sessions, which are very intimate, and they're in the classrooms upstairs, and 2 large ones. They're at 10 o'clock, 2 are at 10 o'clock, and 2 are at 11:30 to 12:30. They're 1 hour. So I just wanted to tell you what they are because it might give you a little incentive to come. Advocacy is a really big issue this year, and we're really focusing on it. And we're focusing on early childhood and bringing new parents into the fold, because at one point we all want to retire and go away, and we need people. We're really scared. This new administration of people have 35 years in the field. You have 30, because she's a little younger. But who's going to take over when we're gone? Who's going to take
Pretty
over?
much that entire second.
There you go. My staff and Chris's staff. But the thing is that we really do need people able to step up and be partners with us. And so we're focusing on early childhood people. Chris is very happy about that. So one of our sessions is, what happens after diagnosis, transitioning into the system and making connections. So our first small session is going to be mentoring, hooking people up. That's a weird thing to say, but connecting parents who need mentoring with parents who have been through the system. So that's the first, followed by Advocacy 101. Because people, you said we don't need it, but we do need it. So the reason that we're doing kind of Advocacy 101 is because people say, well, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do it. And for the last couple of years, we haven't been able to fill a bus to go to Albany on Staten Island, which is horrible because we really do need to represent, and we need to represent on the same page. Okay, going out, and I agree people should go, but the message should be the same, because Be Fair to Direct Care really proved that if we're all saying the same thing at the same time, then we do make a difference. So those two sessions are going to be hot little sessions that are intimate, and you'll get personalized care and answers. The other two sessions are self-direction and traditional services. That's in the big room. Everybody can go. It's not self-direction versus traditional, but self-direction is do self-direction. And, if you have, 4 kids and 3 have autism and you work a full-time job and your husband works, it's difficult sometimes to do. We do have families who do self-direction with 3 kids. But it might not be the time for you. So what are traditional services? And the other one is Janet and Corinne are putting together a CCO presentation in the big room. So you're going to have representatives from all of the agencies. So those are the hot topics. We're responsible for putting together, Diane and I are responsible for putting together the topics every month. So if you have any suggestions for topics, anything that you want to hear this year, talk to Diane or I or Chris, but we're responsible. You're the boss now. We're putting together. So tell us what topics, tell us who you want us to bring in to present to you, what information you want to hear, what is of interest to you, and we'll track them down and book them for the monthly meeting. So I hope to see everybody there, and we need volunteers. We really do need volunteers. Okay, one of them is to guard the food upstairs from the students, but anyway. We do need volunteers, so me or Jeannie, see us, tell us if you want to help out, even if it's just for a couple of hours. All hands on deck, we need some help. Okay, thanks, see you there.
Thank you, Irene, that's great. Family Support Services Advisory Council, Diane Perugia, Gail Decker.
Good morning, my name is Diane Perugia. I'm a mother of a daughter named Alexa Perugia. She's 23 and she's affected with autism. My co-chair is not here. Gail's here. That's Gail. She's on my co-chair. She's been with me a few years now. And we have Kathy Nowak, who's our state representative. Our committee consists of parents, self-advocates, grandparents, and siblings. So if you're an agency, we do have flyers in the back for our meetings. Please get that information out to your parents. We welcome new members any time of the year to join us. We discuss all the hot topics that are going on. Kathy comes from our state meetings and gives us information hot off the press, sometimes even before the state knows. It's really amazing. Well, the state local people know. Our discussion, there are other family parents there that give information, and sometimes your best source of information is another parent. We work together with the state to oversee supports and services, to identify needs. We are part of a focus group, a respite focus group, and we work together with the state to continue to oversee supports and services. I really urge parents to come to our meetings. We have like 3 main reasons why you should be there. Number 1, like we're very warm and friendly. Number 2, we have state representatives at every meeting, which a lot of times the other committees don't have. We're very fortunate to have Chris Grover with us at our meetings, John Wynn, and sometimes we even have Kerry from the front door. And they're they're really wonderful because they answer our questions. And with these changing times, we really need that. And if they don't have an answer, they get back to other people. So I feel very fortunate to have this team at our meetings every month, and they're really, I know that, you have to be a Wonder Woman now, God bless you, and we have Wonder Woman men here as well, in Staten Island. So, and then the third reason why she come is that we provide food. So, in the morning we serve breakfast at our morning meeting, and in the evening we serve wine and cheese. There's flyers in the back, and our next 3 meetings are listed. So this, in October, we'll do a morning meeting on October 10th, we'll do an evening meeting November 15th, and then back to a morning meeting on December 12th. So we look forward to meeting some new families, us too. We would love some young families to come and join us and move forward with, their perspective of the sports and services and what they need. If they don't attend our meetings, we don't know where the need is, so thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Health and Clinical Services, Jane Cooper.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces, but it's also nice to see new faces here today. So the Health and Clinical Committee just met this past Wednesday, and we will meet again on October 17th. We meet at Staten Island Mental Health Society Power Center, where my offices are, at 9:30, and everyone is welcome. Just to give a brief recap, last year we resurrected a project we started a few years ago that kind of just faded away, but we resurrected it, and it's a questionnaire to try to find out from parents and primary service providers, with direct care people. When you go to a doctor, if that doctor's office has been a positive experience for you and the person you bring there, we want to know so we can share that information. So the plan is to roll out the questionnaire first to parents or members of the council, and we hope to do that during the month of October. So parents, please be on the lookout. After that, we're going to then hopefully work with service care coordination to try to get some of the care coordinators to do it. And then from there, we'll see where it should go. So that's the main project. We also continue to stay abreast of what's happening in major healthcare institutions like the hospitals in terms of staff training, so that when someone with a developmental challenge presents in an emergency room or an outpatient clinic or wherever, that the staff are sensitive and trained. So to that end, we work very closely with Staten Island University Hospital. I think I saw Maggie. And we have also been working with Rumsey. Again, they've had some changes there, but we continue to try to make sure that they're training their staff. And as I sit here, I have to comment that it's really good to see everybody together, to know all the committees, because all the committees share this common interest, and they're also interrelated. As I sit here listening to the whole issue about the preschoolers, for example, I can't help but become a little bit upset, because the lack of services to those children certainly has a rippling effect on both their health and mental health. If we don't help take care of them now, these are the kids that are going to fall behind, be bullied, suffer mental health-wise, and again, we've seen all, the press about what happens when children are treated that way. So there's such an interrelatedness, and so the advocacy and the camaraderie that we share here is of the utmost importance. I'm sorry, my reading partner had to say that. So please consider. We're also going friendly. I can't promise you breakfast, wine, and cheese. But and a cup of coffee, and we're going friendly. And please consider joining us on October 17th at 9:30. Any questions, you can call me at 718-448-9775. And by the way, I oversee the services at the Couch Center and also early childhood mental health at Staten Island.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Residential Quality of Life, Jason Carl, Linda Cal.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Hahn, I'm the co-chair of the Residential Quality of Life Committee. With Linda Cal, the other co-chair. It's nice to see everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful summer. The residential quality of life, our mission is to identify and address issues pertaining to the quality of life of individuals that are in current residential settings. That's all residential settings, whether it's traditional, self-direction, ISS, supportive, supervised, pretty much everything pertaining to residential. Some of our previous topics we do discuss programming, changes in regulations, staff, clinical roles, responsibilities. The highlight of our committee is really we do an annual presentation where we recognize all the direct support professionals, the hard work that they do. They have a nice ceremony, so we do hope everybody joins. Our committee does consist of other agency providers, mostly of family members of individuals in residential settings. We do have family members attend that are interested in placing their child in a residential setting at one point so they can learn and they know what to expect when it comes to residential services. And we also would like to see this year some individuals, some advocates, but really the committee is open to everybody. We generally meet the last Friday of each month in this building at 9:30 a.m. Our first meeting will be next Friday, September 28th, in this building at 9:30. Is there anything else with there?
Just a request to have, if there are any people in the room who are working in residences, we would really appreciate if you would help this meeting, because Jason runs residences, but he shouldn't be the only provider answering all the questions, because we know that every agency does things a little differently, which is a little hard for parents to understand and take sometimes, but it adds to the conversation if we have professional providers at any level coming to talk, because it's informative for them to hear what other people do, it's informative for the parents, it helps us improve, because, you know, we used to have this idea about best practices, and it would be good if we could come to some ideas about that. So next Friday in the conference room.
Thank you. Thank you. Self-directed supports, Jason Riccadelli.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Riccadelli. Our next committee meeting is to be determined. I am in the process of bringing on a new co-chair. I'd like to continue to hold meetings to educate families, individuals, brokers, and agency representatives on self-direction. Last year, one of our most successful meetings was having vendors come and speak about the services that they do provide through self-direction, and I'd like to continue to have those kinds of meetings. And also at our meetings, we usually have the Staten Island self-direction liaisons to answer any questions that people may have as well. And if you want, you can reach out to me via email. My email is jason, Jason, @pccsny.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Willowbrook Property Planning, Diane Buglioli, Lorraine DeSantis, Eric Goldberg.
Hello. Other people are more friendly, I'm just clumsy. I'm Diane Buglioli, I'm the co-chairperson of the Willowbrook Property Planning Committee. Eric Goldberg is the co-chair with me. The Willowbrook, for those of you that know, the Willowbrook Property Planning Committee really started a decade ago. And it had to do with when there was properties here that we thought we would be developing to do some additional services that weren't available to other people on Staten Island, right? So in doing that, we did a big survey, a study. Some of you were involved in it, and we had a great plan. And then we started to look at the topographical nature of the property. And we found that so much of the property is called Willowbrook, because there's this brook that runs underneath all of this property. And some of the property could not be used in the way we thought it could. Then came a big funding cut to the state. And we knew that we wouldn't be able to proceed in that manner, to put actual services here. So what we did was we said, what is it that we really want to accomplish about Willowbrook? Because we are ground zero for the changes in the developmental rights movement, right? So we said, we need really to do something. And we thought about it long and hard, and we said, what we really want to present to people is, this was something that evolved in terms of how individuals who had special needs were dealt with by the state. And by state, I mean OMRD, which was on OPW, but the state of
of all of us, this is what was supposed to be the right thing to do, to separate people, to segregate them into their own place, because that would be better for them. There would be people that they had something in common, and they would live together. And we could provide the transportation, everything in one building, so it would save us money. Well, it didn't save us money, and it certainly didn't save or empower those people that were living in those circumstances. So our lesson from the past of Willowbrook is that we should never do it again. It should never be a path we take, ever. So we said, so maybe that's our mission. Our mission is to tell people about it and to share it, not to keep it in the past and don't talk about it. It's important to talk about Willowbrook. So we thought we would start a walking trail, which is what we've done. It's called the Willowbrook Mile, and it winds through the IBR properties, Elizabeth Conley Center this, and the College of Staten Island. It's a little bit more than a mile, it's around a mile and a half. It has 10 stations on it, we call them milestones. And those milestones tell the story of Willowbrook. It tells the story of this property. It tells the story of it used to be Howard Hospital years ago, because this was developed in 1935. The legislation said we were going to have this this facility for people with disabilities. They did that in the 1930s, and then the war came along in the 1940s, and it hadn't been built yet. So they used this as the largest military hospital in our country was here at Howard Hospital. The old building too was their main, medical unit. But all of these buildings were for people that were convalescing from their war injuries. Not to mention, just to give you some information, we had POWs here. We had German and Italian POWs here. And there was a trail that ran along the outside of the perimeter of the property where horses used to guard because we had POWs here. So there's something that's a station for Howard Hospital. There's a station for the expose, the Geraldo Rivera expose, and the story of how that happened. People now say, sometimes I'll talk at the college, and when I talk about Willowbrook, I ask them if they know where it is. Some people say it's a mall in New Jersey. Yeah, they're right. It is a mall in New Jersey. But if you're going to work in this field, and if you're a person with a heart, you need to know about that. That this is what we did many, many years ago, and we can never go in this direction again. So the other stations involve something about consent judgment. There's a piece there about that economy and advocacy. There's a piece there about IBR. We should all be very proud that IBR is here on our island. It's an internationally known facility for research, and it's done wonderful research between Down syndrome and Alzheimer's. And there's things going on here all the time. We should be very proud of that location. There's another piece there on what it was like to live in a facility. Talking about what institutionalization was really like. And I think one of the things that always struck me, and most of you that I know here know that I worked here. I worked in this room. I was a recreation worker, and this was called Bubble. And we had all mats here, and we worked with infants. This was a baby unit. There's a whole station on the baby unit. Baby unit came around in 1967, and that was when they started to realize they had all of these children, and I mean children, infants. I worked with infants here in this room. And the fact of the matter is that their lives were so impoverished in terms of possessions and being able to develop self. I show pictures in and it's available in the archives through college, right? Pictures of a room, let's say twice the size of this, which would be a bedroom or the dorm room. And the beds were maybe 6 inches apart. And you see this room, it looked very clean and very neat. But the fact of the matter was that there was not a single nightstand, there was not a single possession that any of those kids or adults, for that matter, in the other buildings had. So we all become who we are through the things that surround us, our families, but also just possessions, memories, things that you belong to. The children never had that. And we could never go back to that. So as much as we talk about the things we need to do in the future, and they're very important, advocating for the future, but we always have to remember that we can't go back, and you have to learn from history. And Willowbrook is not just the buildings out here, it was a concept that you can separate people, that you can take away those things that give us life, those things, you know what I'm saying? I tell a story, I'll tell this one story. And as I said, I was a rec worker, and so I had a little group of kids that had Down syndrome in my class. And one kid was limping. So I said to her, "What's the matter?" "Nothing." I said, "Oh, let me look at your shoe." "No." "Take off your shoe." "No." So I sit down, I think she has a stone in her shoe. So finally I get her to sit down, I take off the shoe, and I see this big clump in her sock. So I take it off and she's struggling with me. You know that how that is. "No, stop. No, please, come on, let me take it out, let me look. It's mine. I know it's yours. I'm going to give it back to you." Take it off, and there's this wad in it, right? So I open up the wad, and it's like paper, like cardboard almost, like paper mache with it. And I start opening it up. And what it is, it's a birthday card from her mother. Now, there would be no place else that she could put it. At night, she would sleep with it. When she got dressed in the morning, she'd put it in her sock. She didn't have a pocketbook. She didn't have a pocket. She didn't have a place to put it on. This is the stuff that's Willowbrook. You can't take away from people their rights to be people and their rights to grow in a strong environment. So that's the importance of the Willowbrook Mile. That people in future generations will walk, be able to read it, be able to be happy. You'll be able to go on to each of this. Right now, there are signs there. These are just transitional signs so that people know that this is where the milestones will be. But there will eventually be ways for you to hook up with your phone, and you'll be able to listen to people talking about their experiences. You'll be able to see pictures, and hopefully taking us into the future, knowing that we never do this again anymore. Right now, the collaboration is very strong with the College of Staten Island. We meet with them monthly. We've got some monies through the college, and they're doing the architectural drawings right now for each of the stations. Let's see, the next meeting is next Wednesday. It's with the college administration. 9:30. 9:30. And the other piece that we're doing, every year there's an annual lecture at the college about Willowbrook. Last year Mike Wilkin spoke. He was one of the doctors who brought in Geraldo Rivera to take the pictures for the expose that was on Eyewitness News Channel 7. We're hoping this year, the thing that we're pushing for, because I'm getting older and I want it to be in my lifetime, is that I really would like there to be, I have been able to have my own closure as a form of work here. But what we haven't done our job with is giving closure to the people who live here. So we're pushing very strong for next year's lecture to be a day of remembrance, a Willowbrook Remembrance Day. And reaching out, I will be asking for your help. I know you know it by heart. To reach out to as many class members as we can, to bring them back that day. Because one of the other things that happened to them through the deinstitutionalization process, now remember there's 6,000 people living there. And within 10 years, they had to get down to 250. So thousands of people just were moved out, right? So they were removed from these very bad conditions. They also were moved away from all the people that they grew up with and lived with and had relationships with, right? So we want to bring them together as much as we can, as many people as we can find. Give them a day just to talk. I've asked people here on the island, if you've had people that are class members living or work or attending services from your agency, try and help them to connect with some of the people we found in our place. We found, through one of our people, we found 3 people that they knew they were living here on the island the whole time, and they got together and did it. They grew up together from ages 7 to 20, because they moved down to foster care together, into the family care program together. So we can make these connections for them, and I really think that it moves us to do that for them. And that will be it for us.
Thank you so much.
Before we end, people in the second row, your youngsters, if you get more young people, no offense, if you get some young people involved and explain Willowbrook, that it's not a war, it's similar thing to, you know, my grandfather, when he rest in peace, used to say, there used to be young people in the senior center who used to say there's no such thing as World War II. There is such a thing as World War II. And then the same thing with Willowbrook, there's no such thing as Willowbrook, there is. So we gotta get our young people more involved.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, membership and guidelines, Scott Salinardi, Linda Dow.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Salinardi.
Scott, 1 second, can we have some quiet, please?
Again, I'm Scott Salinardi. It's always great to be here, see everybody today. I have the privilege of co-chairing with Linda Cowell, right next to me here, and our mission is to drive membership. I mean, thanks to Diane and Eric for just recapping and giving us the, really the reason why we're here, fighting and advocating for everybody on the island and beyond in the state. And I think membership and guidelines, that's our mission, is to drive membership. In the room here, we have a lot of members that are officially signed up this year. We also have people that aren't signed up officially as members, so we encourage everyone to take the time to become members officially. We have a great website that was relaunched this summer, so please take time to check that out. It's very interactive. It's going to be a great way to learn about what's happening at the council and how you can get involved. So, and pretty soon I think you can sign up for membership right on. So, we can already. So that's great. So so we're trying to make improvements. We're trying to work together with the committees and really make this council what it can be. I think it's going to be an exciting year. We have some great passion in the room. You've heard from everybody today. I think that's, it's great to be a colleague and peers of theirs because everybody's here for the right reasons. So the more we can come together and increase our membership numbers, we'll be able to fill a bus, we'll be able to fill 2 buses this year going up to Albany, and that's what it's all about. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Linda about membership. We want you guys to be on board and then tell your friends and colleagues back home. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, before we move to the presentation, thank you everyone for participating, contributing your reports and work that you do on the committee.